Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders, their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted we have with us Stephen Bell, who's the Managing Director at Sprint Finishing. So firstly, Stephen, thank you so much for spending the time to talk to us this morning. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and Sprint Finishing to the audience, it'd be great to know how you help people.
Well, as you said, I'm Steve Bell from Sprint Finishing. I currently run this beautiful company, which is a family business that we've had for 35 years or thereabouts.
Brilliant.
So we've seen a lot happen, a lot come and go, and been through a lot of different things. We, as a business, now design and manufacture packaging for a whole range of different types of industries, you know, all the way from food to whiskey to glasses to everything that you see in the shop, with beautiful recycled paper. And that seems to be where everyone seems to be going as far as, you know, wanting packaging and sustainability and stuff like that. So we sort of fit into that mold beautifully, and we get to deal with some fantastic companies. And we don't just target the huge companies and your Waitrose and stuff like that, although we're perfectly capable of doing stuff like that. We love to help and see small businesses come in that have just started, that want packaging to help sell the products and to help their business. And it's a joy to meet so many new people and sit there almost like, you know, someone on Dragon's Den, watching people tell you about their business and then helping them from a packaging point of view, doing all the design work and, you know, hoping them achieve what they want to do.
Brilliant. Love it. So I must ask you a question. So what would you say is the most strangest or challenging thing you've ever had to design packaging for, if there is one? I don't know if there isn't, but is there anything came in and you went, oh my goodness.
Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. Well, I mean, I don't know. They're all quite challenging, really. I mean, you know, people want simplicity because it's cheaper usually, and they just want something as cheap as possible. We do get very unusual things, and I can't think of one off the top of the head. We have lots of things here, lots of weird whiskey boxes. Somebody came in once with a steak knife, and they wanted a very specific package making for a steak knife as a gift for after you've finished eating your meal.
Oh,
which I didn't think was a good idea, giving everyone knives after they just finished at that. but yeah, you know, there isn't that many strange things. It's how good a job we do with a simple product, really. You know, that's what it's all about, making it look very simple, but really there's quite a lot behind it.
Brilliant.
And you know, they're always the best things out there.
And I've seen to be working. I know, you know how great it is. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So maybe if we start
doing simple things really well, you know, and making a very good job of something. Yeah.
And that's what most people want, isn't it? It's just, you know, simple stuff that works well. We don't need to, the complex stuff typically comes with its own challenges, and so that's great. Yeah. So just thinking about yourself to start with, what can you tell a little bit about your background, how you got into business and why this business? I know you know it's a family one, but just a sort of your backstory, if you like.
Well, I sort of left school in 1985 with a promise of a job, so I really sort of threw my exams away, really, although I wasn't particularly well educated back then, and I managed to get what was called an apprenticeship then. It wasn't a true apprenticeship, really. It was just as I was a starter, and it meant me leaving home at a very early age, although I thought I was old at 16, and going to live what they used to call in board and lodgings for a company in Elland, of all places.
Wow.
But there wasn't much for me to do. So at 16, I kick-started my motorbike, my 50cc motorbike, and shot off and lived with a lovely old lady called Mavis, who put me up for £15 a week. And that was half my wage gone. Wow. And I started to, you know, I started at the bottom on the shop floor, wrapping pallets and helping out and lifting and loading and going out in the vans and emptying the bins and, you know, that sort of thing, really. I got a year or two into my apprenticeship, and it was the same trade. I should go back actually. My father really got me this job, Tom, because he knew the owner of this business, and it was what my father was already into. Yeah. So a couple of years after I'd been there, my dad came to work there as a manager, which was obviously a double-edged sword for me, because, you know, it was great. I thought I might be able to go back home and get a lift to work. That wasn't the case, actually. And, you know, and of course, I didn't really, being that young, I didn't see what was really going to happen. He was obviously going to be harder on me than everybody else because, you know, he couldn't show any favoritism. Anyway, we obviously got on and didn't get on famously, as father and sons do in business, are working together. And I think we sent a letter out teasing the idea of possibly setting up a business, because we just come off a shift where we'd worked sort of 30-something hours without going home. It was ridiculous, you know. We'd gone in on a Friday and not gone home till Saturday night. And we sort of thought we wouldn't work this hard for ourselves. Anyway, so we sent a letter out, and unfortunately we sent a letter out to someone who knew the owner of the business. And we were literally sacked on the spot with the following Monday. So, you know, I've got a lot to thank you for, I suppose. You know, the decision was made then. And obviously back in the 80s, it was quite an exciting time. All you needed was a Filofax and walk into a bank, and they would throw money at you instantly. And more or less, I put together a business plan, which can only be described as some, you know, fourth-year school homework about what we can do and what our ideas were. And they threw £30,000 at us, which was a huge amount of money back in the day. So that was, you know, suddenly the ball was rolling. I had nothing to lose. You know, I had to sell my little XR2, whatever it was, Fiesta, and thinking, well, I'm all in. But my dad was brave enough to do that and to put his house up as, you know, as guarantee, which I didn't fully understand at that point or appreciate, did I? So, and we just set a business up together. You know, we were there, and we knew nothing about business. All we knew was our job, really. And we just, you know, as family businesses do and still do today and did then, we just worked incredibly hard. Probably far too hard. We worked hard and not clever, because that's all we understood and that's all we knew. You know, there wasn't the technology, there wasn't even fax machines then, you know, and it was just about, you know, doing the work and doing the best job possible. And that's really how we started. You know, I mean, the journey from there has changed and gone on as, and probably typical of the script of many family businesses. You know, we had lots of success and lots of things go wrong, and you know, we just sort of learned from the things that we did wrong. And it was great because there was that good balance between father and son. I know there was very difficult working with your dad, and probably for him, for me, because you lose that father-son relationship. You become partners in work. And that's quite necessary, you know, for it to work. You can't have the sort of, you know, we were always at work. We were never sort of father-son, never did anything together like that. But it was good. The dynamic was good, because I was sort of young and like, you know, let's do this, let's buy that, let's do that. What could possibly go wrong? And of course, he was the other side of that. And somewhere in the middle was the right decision.
Brilliant.
So that always seemed to work. That always seemed to work. And, you know, I'm, you know, looking back now, the mistakes we made were quite obvious, and the decisions we made, we could have done differently, and we could have succeeded far faster and made money and a lot easier. But that's part of learning, isn't it? You know, that's part of growing as a business, especially a family business where the dynamics are a bit different.
Absolutely.
And I think the family business thing played a very special role in it, because we went through such difficult times that I think if we were just partners in business, we would not have stuck together. We would not have got through some of the really, really I mean, you know, back at the 80s and the early 90s and the recessions and problems, I think, much like what we're suffering with now. We wouldn't have made it. We would not have made it, I don't think. You know, we won't get paid for 2 months and things like that, you know. And we just gelled together and did whatever it took to succeed. And thankfully we did, because, you know, eventually it blooms into something quite good. You know, we're very, very proud of what we've got today. So
brilliant. No,
so that's the story and the setup, obviously.
What a great story. And you mentioned obviously challenges and one or two there. What would you say some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome over that 30 years?
Well, you know, the biggest thing we got wrong was cash flow. We didn't really understand about collecting money and how far you can go and how far people would take you and realize that you're a young business and would use you to, you know, and knew that you wouldn't dare ring up for your money. And people, I mean, it isn't so much these days, but certainly then, the filters that we've all been through over the last couple of years means that I think if you're in business now, you jolly well deserve to be in business. Back in the 80s, there was a lot of businesses that were very, you know, what's the correct word? Very lucky to be in business. It was a lot easier to get away with stuff. And, you know, people took us for a lot of money. We were a bit green. People tried to take from us what we had. And that was the biggest challenge, really, was just being able to recognize and deal with the correct people, because it was we're not dealing with general public, we were dealing with the trade companies. And they were out to get you, a lot of them. You know, they were out to use you. They were trying to steal what you had, or constantly people were trying to buy what we had. And were jealous of our ability. We were very good at what we did, me and my dad, you know, thankfully. And that's thanks to my dad teaching me, really. And people wanted that and tried to steal it from us. It was really, really difficult. So it was dealing with the right people and understanding cash flow were the biggest challenges, really. Sales weren't the problem. Being able to manufacture it wasn't the problem. And the rest of it, but it was just, they were the two real key things that we didn't get right, and they were the biggest challenges, I think. And as you do in the early days, to use the sort of phrase that everyone kind of uses, really, we were in the bottle. We couldn't read the label. We were just running the business. We weren't steering the business. We were just in the engine room, going like mad, working hard, going, it'll come right, this will be good, you know. And there wasn't a clear direction. We were just, which wasn't a bad thing, because it obviously taught us, but we were just doing it day by day, week by week, and not really going, right, we need to be here. This is where we should be going. This is, you know, we were just grateful. We were that green. We were grateful. We were in business and we were making money, you know. And I suppose that was the 80s then, wasn't it, really? It was just all about making as much money as possible. So
I've funny enough, I've not heard the phrase being in the bottle and can't read the label. I love that, actually. I'll remember.
I thought that'd be one of yours.
I've got a few, as you, I think you know, but I love it because I can't read the label. I think it gets it. But what's interesting, you know, I've always believed, and I talk to people about, and I've seen it happening, is you can get to a certain size and success of business, and that can be quite significant, with a few good people in sheer blood and guts, just work really, really hard, and the success turns up. But if we don't change, you know, we get to a limit of typically our time, but ultimately our knowledge. And if we don't change and think differently and learn differently, we're going to hit that barrier of growth, because there isn't, you can't give any more time. Once you're 24/7, you can't grow anymore if it's dependent on our time.
For many, I mean, we just worked too hard. We didn't work clever. We worked far too hard. And there wasn't people like you around. If we could have met you or someone like you in, you know, there was just finance companies that wanted you to take your money and put it into pensions and do this. Everybody wanted it from you. Nobody was there like Action Coach wanting to help you. And to go, look, this is what you can do. This is where you can go. This is how you should plan it, you know. It was just about work, and we just worked so hard. And like you just said, it didn't take long for us to realize that we couldn't work any harder. I mean, it was and I don't mean, you know, people think, you know, I know people in business that say, oh, we worked so hard. I would not believe or understand it, as they say. We've had to work, you know, for months like this. And I think, well, we did it for a decade at least, you know. I mean, really, really hard. And we were no better off. And it didn't matter what we did. We sat down every year with the accountant and we saw the same figures. And we weren't earning enough money. And, you know, something had to change, and neither of us knew what, really. And the accountant didn't give us any good advice then. The accountants we were there, I'm sure they did a good job, but there was no sort of direction or coaching or anything like that, because it just wasn't available.
No, absolutely.
So you just go back and you work harder and you work faster and you try to charge a bit more, or you do this, you know. So you know, that was that you're dead right. You know, you get to a point you can't work any harder.
Absolutely.
So, and I think it was only at that point that I thought, we've just got to do something different. We cannot. And you know, I can tell you now, we ran a business successfully as well, you know, that made money and paid for everything and grew, and everybody worked hard for best part of 25 years, and we never got into the black. We were constantly, you know, from 50 to 120,000 pounds overdrawn. And it was that regular that we were comfortable at that. We thought that's how it operates. You constantly live in an overdraft. And all the banks wanted to do was send me down the factoring route and invoice financing. And then, which we strongly stayed away from, because the second biggest problem that we ever had in business is that everybody went down that route, that got into trouble, that raised money or wanted to, refinanced all the debtors and spent it all. Yes. And when that money ran out, you had nothing left.
Yes.
And the banks literally controlled your business, because they can control the amount of drawdown that you can take when you create an invoice. And they tell you how much you can spend with how much any customer can spend with you. Suddenly, you know, I mean, I think if you can't be in charge of the money in your business, you shouldn't be in business. You know, I mean, you need help, but you have to have overall authority and control over the money.
Yes.
And I thought, you've got somebody who doesn't understand your business telling you how much you can have and who you can deal with and how much money they can spend with. And at any moment in time, and this happened to all the people, all our customers that went bust on us, the banks suddenly decided, we don't really want to be in this sector or whatever it was. And they would change the drawdown. They would change the drawdown from 70% to 60%, and they wouldn't have enough money to pay the wages, and they'd be gone. Yeah. And the bank would be in, and you know, it's a way of them not losing as much money. And and then we suddenly discovered this new word where everyone goes into administration. What does administration think? I think, but so many people did. Yeah. And you never got anything. We lost 60% of our customer base. Yeah. In probably 5 years. Yeah. All because everyone went down that route. So we never went down that route. We just traded out of our overdraft in the end by changing the business. Yeah, well done. And I know, you know, you've done a lot to change. You know, you've gone from that position of, you know, always operate at that level. It reminded me, I know our founder Brad, I remember him telling me about meeting a guy, and he said, look, I've been running this business 20 years. What can you possibly teach me? And Brad said, look, you know, with respect, looking at your numbers, you've been in business 1 year, you've just repeated it 20 times. Yeah. And it's that breaking that cycle is so key. And I know you've done, you've done that and broken through. But without it, it's tough. You know, business isn't supposed to be this tough for this long. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's going to be tough at times. And I was told that the idea that, you know, you could do a business that you could do it easy, hard, or hard, easy. But at some point it's hard, and you know, often the quicker you go through the hard bit, the quicker it gets easier. But you know, it A, does require effort, but B, it should become easier over time. What were the key things you learned that helped you, you know, sort of break that cycle and get to where you are now, would you say? Well, we stopped dealing with our customers, believe it or not, and we went to our customers, if you like, and that was because of internet. We didn't sort of shaft anyone or go, oh, we're going to start dealing direct with that. What we did with the internet, when somebody wants some packaging, somebody turns up and said, I want packaging for this. Yep. They would go to a design agency and they would design some graphics, and then they would go to a printing company and the printer would sort all that, and then they would come to us to do the box, because that's the process of manufacturing. Right. But what we did is we decided to deal with the people who wanted that designing straight away. They come straight to us. They come straight to the source of manufacturing. Right. Because we do all the product and packaging design and the actual manufacturing of it. The only thing we didn't do was put the ink on the paper. So suddenly our customers became our suppliers. Yes. Now that did one of two things. We were able to charge a bit more, and we got paid faster. But the people that used to be our customers, the printers, are now our suppliers, and we can, you know, that was a different conversation when when we wanted to be paid from them. They weren't holding it as long because they wanted, you know, we could reciprocate that work and we could trade together. And it gave us that power of, you know, rather than customers ringing us up and say, well, we need you to do it to this price because we've been here and they can do it at that price. They would send us the work knowing that we would give them work back. So it all started to work really well. And the relationship got better, you know. We weren't treated like a supplier, because some people really treat you quite badly. That suddenly we were a customer as well.
Yeah.
And I just did that with one or two. Now, the important thing was that we didn't completely change the business. Go, oh, this is the route. We're going to do this now. We held on to what we did. We still do quite a lot of trade work, which is great. But we do an element of end user work now as well. Yep. So we do both. We didn't just suddenly jump ship and go, no, let's do this. We've got a really good mix of the two. And that's good, because when things go quiet, there's always one or the other coming in. Yes. You know, so it's not all, it's eggs and baskets, isn't it, I suppose? So that was the pivotal point, because suddenly we were invoicing more and getting paid quicker.
Brilliant.
And within a year, within a year, we'd wiped out the overdraft completely, and we were into credit. Yeah, and brilliant. That was like, you know, that was. But do you know what? We had to go through what we had to go through to get to that point, because there's lots of elements to my business. There's the tooling of the business, the tooling of the cutting forms that actually manufacture the packaging. There's the actual manufacturing of the packaging. There's the gluing of the packaging, and you know, and we over the years and the growth and the hard work and the financing, we managed to put all these things in place. Some companies have to send out and get the tooling done in another company, and then they have the die cutting done there and the gluing done somewhere else. Yeah. We can do all that. Right. We can do all that at Sprint Finishing. We do all that there. The only thing we didn't do is put a printing press in, because then that would have drawn a very large line in the sand to my printers that are still my customers. I would suddenly be a competitor. Yes. And I didn't want that. I wanted to give them that work. Brilliant. So I could rescue and enhance the relationship I have with them. But you know, I can have my cake and eat it, really. If brilliant.
And it's knowing that line, isn't it? It's a very, you know, that's very astute, because
and very quickly, one of the first things I did, I was able to cherry pick, probably is a strong word, but choose the people that I wanted to deal with. And I suddenly realized I didn't have to deal with the people that one was always trying to rip us off or not pay us, you know, or really take the mickey, or say there was a problem with a job when there wasn't and try and get money off. And we could do more work for the right people. Brilliant. And then the snowball didn't just, it started to go in the other direction very quickly. Brilliant. And you start to enjoy the work much more, you know, rather than chasing the money, which I always tell people, don't chase the money, love the job, be good at the job, you know, and the rest will come, you know, be passionate about what you're doing, really care about it. Let your staff see that, let your customers see that, but believe it, you know, be that, don't, you know, love the job, be good at it, be the best, don't be the biggest, be the best. And everything will come. And then, you know, as that starts to work, your biggest problem is then containing it. You know, people want us to grow and be bigger, and you know, it isn't. We just select certain industries, certain customers. We deal with lovely companies that we decide that we want to deal with, and we only deal with friends. You know, brilliant. And I can pay people quicker. I can treat my staff better. You know, all as a result, really, of sort of making that change. The whole business pivoted, and everything sort of changed on that sort of point. But it wasn't that wasn't a mistake. We couldn't have done that 20 years ago. It wasn't the internet. We didn't have all them things in place to do the manufacturing. It was a very difficult and long process to do it. Of course, we could have done things better with the knowledge we have now. Yeah, I couldn't have done what we do now then. Yeah. So I'm not kicking myself. Saying why didn't I do this earlier? We did it at the moment we could do it. We did it, and it worked. So,
I don't believe in kicking ourselves regrets. It's just, you know, it's part of our, you know, it's part of our journey, and you know, even if we could have worked it out earlier, that's, you know, that's okay. It didn't happen. But There's no need to, but you've got to learn.
It's where you are. It's where you are today. It's where you are now and where you are
100%.
today that counts, and what you do. And I never take that for granted. Sort of every first day of the month, it's like, I treat it like we're a brand new business. It's our first day. Off we go. And that's it. We wipe the slate clean and crack on and see what we can do and treat it as it's like your first day in business.
Love it.
Literally, only you've got that knowledge behind you. You don't sort of fall back on how well it's going. Always treat it like it's your first one. So
I like
keep that enthusiasm up, isn't it? That's it.
Yes.
And it's infectious. I genuinely have got it. I got to a point where we've got a great business, and I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy the people I work with.
Yeah.
And I'm completely out of the bottle, as we were on about earlier on, and I can read the label and decide what I want to do.
Yep.
And see where I am from that point of view. So
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I know we're a coaching organisation, and I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, or life in general.
Who are the best coaches I've worked with?
Who would you say are the best people that you've worked with in that respect?
Do you know what I mean? I've always been lucky that I've always known people that I've aspired to be like, if you like, all the way from school into business, into my sports that I do, that we spoke about for the interview, with the racing and stuff like that. And I've always been able to be, I have friends like that have inspired me. And I've managed to look at people like that and take the bits that I thought were best from them and sort of introduce them into myself and then better myself, constantly reevaluating myself to see where I am and try to improve. There was, I've spoken to lots of coaches like yourself, and I've, the thing is, when you first get approached and you've been in business for a long time, as I did, you think, well, what on earth can these people tell me? They don't know my business. They don't know this.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing is you've got to realize not to be so naive that you can't learn something. And I was definitely, I was proud of what I've done, and you don't know my story and stuff like that. But generally the script's the same on a lot of businesses, really. And there was a lovely guy called Patrick who quite inspired me, and he sat down and he was genuinely interested in me, and I managed to get about 3 coaching sessions out of him, but never pay him a penny. Because I think I was a nut he was trying to crack, and he was always inviting me. He said, come along, and we'd have a chat, and it'd just be an hour, and we'd be there for 3 or 4 hours. I remember having a meeting at 2 o'clock, and I don't think I left till 8 o'clock at night. and I realised that he genuinely was interested, and he had a fantastic story, and he was very complimentary about me, which I was, I thought that was lovely, and I took you learn lots from different. The guys like you, I learn little bits from, and I think I can apply that, or I can be like that, or I can, or I can pass that on. Some of the things that you've perhaps said to me, or some of the other coaches said to me, I use that with my staff. I speak to them. I know what motivated me. I know what when someone said that to me, I know what made me go, wow, that's clever, and I can use that again. So I just piggyback on guys like you, really, and sort of take the bits that and introduce them into my business. So I couldn't, I haven't got any names, but there are, lots of people, and it's important. It's about life. It's about learning, isn't it? It's
absolutely. I do think one of the key things about coaching specifically is coaching's about questions rather than answers. So you're absolutely right. It's like nobody should come into your business and say you should do this or should do that.
Yeah.
What coaching approaches is saying is helping you find your way through, helping you get out of the bottle to read the label, if that makes sense. And then asking you what the label says, not telling you what it says, because very few people I work with like to be told anything for any length of time. And I think that's what real coaching is. If people are telling you, then that's consulting, and sometimes that's really useful. We want to be told a specific thing in a specific way, but the coaching approach allows us, the way we describe it is, you're the expert in your business, we're the experts in business, and if you put those two things together, we'll come out with ideas that then we can implement together, rather than because it would be very arrogant of anyone to say, oh, I know what you should do, because how can they have that 30 years of knowledge about your specific business? It's impossible.
Well, we've certainly had that. We've had people come in and say, you know, you're doing this wrong, you need to be doing this, and straight away, you know, that's where it's not going to go. I mean, and that's the hardest thing, isn't it, for guys like you, really? You've got to open people like me up and go, listen, you know, and you've got, you know, there's lots of people in my position that go, this is how I do things. I don't need this, I don't need that. And you've got to make these people listen. You've got to make them realise that there's more to it. You know, there's a bigger picture.
Absolutely. And we've touched on a couple already, but are there any other great quotes or sayings that you do use or fall back on a regular basis?
Oh, I can't, you know, I'm only going to repeat, you know, ridiculous ones, but no, I mean, that I could pass on. I don't think that would be of any use that anyone hasn't already heard it. I'm quite pleased you hadn't heard about the bottle one. I thought you were going to say, oh, that old chestnut, but
no, it's lovely because it's a very visual description and it's quite, you know, it's really relevant. I think that I really like it because I think it will explains it very clearly. You know, you're in it, you can't see the label on the outside, so you don't know. You
know, going back to that, it's not that you shouldn't be in the bottle. You know, you need to be in there for a period of time, so when you come out, you can see it. But you know, it is, you know, you get to a point. Hopefully, you know, in business, you get to a point where you can be out of it and you can look at it and you can look at what, you know, I've put decades into this, or years of money, or whatever you've put into it. And now it'll work for you and it'll fit your lifestyle, whether that be I want to sell and go, or I just want to have that work-life balance better, or I you know, or I need it to give me more money to do what I need to do, or you know, it's different for everybody, isn't it? You know, it's you know, and that's a strange thing as well, when all you've done is work, and then you find yourself in that position and you sort of almost don't know what you want to do. Absolutely. You know, what do I want to do? What actually makes me happy? Because all I know is how to work. I don't switch off. And you've got to, you know, you've got to find what works for you and what makes you happy in life, because you've never got to, you know, I remember years ago, God, I went to this thing in Ilkley when, you know, me and my dad had decided to set business. So we bought a Filofax each and we went to a business seminar. What's a seminar? I remember saying. And somebody said, why are you setting a business up? And everyone, and you know, hands were going up and there was a few people there. My driving instructor was there actually as well. I remember seeing him, and they were all saying, you know, oh, well, you know, I'm not happy where I work. I want to have a challenge, or I want to better myself, and I want to this. And he said, you're all wrong. You're doing it because you want to make more money. You want to be successful, and you want to have a better standard of living. And you get so far into running a business that you forget that's why you set it up.
Yes.
And as soon as you've got that opportunity to be out, you know, and you've reached the point that perhaps you want to be, then it's really important that you actually make that business work for you. And I don't mean by taking huge amount of money out or not turning up or buying ridiculous cars and things like that. You know, you know, you've got to gradually take a little bit out and go, this is what I want from the business, you know. And I've done that, you know. I truly enjoy coming to work and doing things like this and working with customers and you know, taking the guys that work for us out and going out for meals and talking about the business. And I love seeing how their lives are progressing as well. And, you know, that's the result of what me and my dad did all them years ago. You know, it's never lost on me the responsibility that I have for the people that work for me. It's not just me. I could just walk away and sell this, and you know, I have always felt that responsibility and took it seriously. And they believe that as well, you know, which is the truth. And that's why they work well for us. That's why we've got people here that have been with us for over 30 years. Yes. You know, there's lots of, you know, no one's been here less than 15, I think. So.
Wow.
So it's, I mean, you know, and it's just, I don't know what else can I say about it. It gives me, you know, I sit down, or I have done for many years at the end of the year. I'll usually come in over Christmas when no one's here, and I have a wander around, and I'm very proud about what we've done. And I look at ways of where we can improve and fine tune. I usually make a list, and I put it up on the wall in front of the office where everyone can see it, and we have a little chat about it. And we try and make all them things happen. We make a realistic list of what we can do.
Brilliant.
And perhaps one or two at the bottom that are a bit dreamy. We'll say, well, let's see if we can get to that. Whether it's to buy a machine or to put, just little things that you can see that you're achieving through the year that make you feel right, and that everyone knows that you're going in the right direction. And we do things like that, quite regularly, and just it gives us a focus on where we want to be and what's next and what we're working towards. Brilliant. And that's important as well, so it motivates people, it shows people where we're going. Yeah,
fantastic. No, absolutely fantastic. There's so many really interesting things about what you just said. What would you say you've learned about yourself over these last 30 years?
Goodness me, I don't know really. That's you know what, I don't know. I've just learned lots of things from lots of people. That's all I can say. I was reasonably uneducated lad, quite dyslexic, and it's a bit like Henry Ford, if you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. You have got to think about what you're doing and believe what you want to do, and be careful what you dream for, because it might just come true and then you've got another problem. You don't know what to do when you've done that, you've got to be strong in business. You've got to have self-belief, and you've got to be honest and work hard. There's no shortcut anymore. It really is. People have been through so many difficult things. And like I said earlier on, if you're in business now, you've done something right. If you've got through the last 10 years, then you deserve to be in business. There's a lot going right. And you know what, when it's going great, we all know what to do. It's fantastic, isn't it? Nothing goes wrong and everyone's got the role and they all know. But it's what you do when it's not going great. It's what you do when you're not busy. And you don't panic. That's the important thing. What do you do when you're quiet? Get back to that list, see what you can do. Crack on, motivate, and look for new work. Don't be scared of changing the direction of your business, which we've done. Even now, last year, we're into things that we never thought we'd do. I was talking to Phil, one of our directors, the other week, and I said, it's like being on The Apprentice this last year. Not that rate The Apprentice, it's more of a comedy show now, isn't it? But it doesn't matter what comes through the door, we're going to turn that into a business and make money out of it. And that's quite exciting, actually. We're able to do that, and then it takes us off on somewhere else and leads us into new customers. Brilliant. So when the pandemic hit, as we spoke about, or when times like that come upon you, you've not to fold. You've got to be strong. And you've got to take this on as another challenge. And know that you've done this before, and approach it carefully and write your list. And it's not about making a huge decision and going this way and we're going to do that. From my point of view, and this isn't true, it's about making lots of very good little decisions. Constantly doing the right thing. I'm still 30 something years in business, and I still come into work sometimes and I go, and I've got hold of the desk, and I think, I need to, I just think, just keep making the right decision, do the right thing, go forward. And I don't need to, we're a very wealthy company. But I've still got the same passion, enthusiasm and nerves about the business as I did have then. And then I sort of have a cup of tea and have a word with myself, and I think, well, I'll just have an hour upstairs or something. I'm lucky enough that I've got to that point where I can do it. Really. But what have I learned? Goodness me, I've just learned that you've just got to keep going. You've got to keep doing the right thing. As I said, you just never give up. You just never give up. And what's the point? If you're going to, there's many times when we thought we were going to lose the business, but we're not, because we would just start again. This is all I know. This is all I'm good at. and or I hope I'm good at. And you know, I've learned to. It's about motivating your staff. It's about loving the people that you work with, and it's about choosing who to do the work for. You know, but you have to go through all the pain before you can get to that point where you can make lovely decisions like that. But, but it is there when you get there. It is there when you get there. And when you get there and you make money, and you'll have seen this as well. You see people that have reasonable success and they just spend all the money. Yeah. They just buy stupid cars, or they don't go into work, and then suddenly it's just not there. As soon as something goes wrong, it's not there. You know, I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself and do things like that, but you know, remember, good times might happen, but bad stuff's always coming. You've got to be ready for it. And if the bad and tough stuff come, and you're ready for it, and you're motivated, and you're ready to tackle it, and you've got the wool on your back to do it, it just becomes another challenge. It isn't bad. It's a challenge, and you can get through it, and you'll be stronger for it. Yeah. You know, and as I say, you know, the amount of years we've been in business, we've certainly been through lots. I had the conversation with my dad this morning, and he was talking about the recession and how bad it is and how bad it's going to get. And I said, well, it's nothing that we haven't gone through before, is it? No, you know, absolutely. We know how to navigate this, you know, and we will take it a month at a time and do the things that we know the formula, and the things that we do work. And we will just continue and battle on and make the right decisions every day. Absolutely. I remember a lady I interviewed a little while ago, and she said, I asked her about quotes and stuff, and she said, one of the things I picked up was, we've all survived 100% of our challenges so far. Yeah, true. And it's right. Again, it's very simple, but quite fundamental, isn't it? We've seen this stuff before. It doesn't mean it's, you know, there's stuff to go through. And you know what, one day I'll be a lot older, and I probably will have, I don't know, sold the business or retired or whatever, and I'll want to look back and be proud of how I dealt with them challenges, because that's what life's about. You know, there are many challenges that it is personally and through business. Yeah. And you can't just fold up. No, you can't just fold up. It's how you. It's not how well you did or what you bought when things were going well. It's how you dealt with the really difficult things that hit you personally, or in business. Yeah. And you know, that's what you can be most proud of when you sort of sat there, sort of thinking, well, you know, I did this, and it's stories to tell, isn't it? You know, absolutely, absolutely. And just looking forward, what does the future look like for you guys, and what are the main challenges you might face, if any? Well, the future at the moment is just controlling the business for us. We have reached a size of which I'm very happy with. We're sort of in 12,000 square feet, nice, you know, a few £1 million turnover, lovely customers. As I said, we're where we want to be. We're constantly just improving. You know, I suppose if I was younger or someone else took this business, they would want to either make it a bigger business, or they would want to open another branch. I mean, you know, banks are knocking on the door for us to lend us money to do things like that. I don't want to do that. I've got it where I want it to be now. Everyone's happy. Everything's working. I can only expand, or I can only ruin it from here on, really. So I feel very blessed and privileged that we got to this point, and satisfied with, if on the day we set up, I'd said, what do you want? Where do you want to be? And what do you want to do? I'm at that point. Personally, you know, I've got options. What I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to just enjoy coming into work and continue running it, and make sure and my job's to steer the ship and make sure everything's going in the right place. All my staff are motivated and happy. Ultimately, the business could be sold and I could just wander away from it. God knows what I would do. I'd probably start another business if I do something. I don't know. I'm a bit, you know, I'm 53. I'm too young to walk away from that now, and I don't want to. If I wanted to, I could do, but I don't want to do that. I'm just, you know, I could leave it in the hands of the people that run the business. So we're just going to continue, I think. You know, I'm really enjoying it. There's still many challenges left to do that are associated with improving our growth. Yeah. You know, there's still lots in front of us. We're just going to, especially at the moment with all the bad news and everything, we're just going to we haven't, you know, we've completed the list of things that we wanted to do this year. Yeah. And we're at the level of staff that we want. We're bringing new blood into the company, which is exciting. We've taken on 3 new people last year. and we're training them up. They're our future, and we're investing time and talent into teaching young lads, and bring them through. So that's it really. Just continually growing and just making them foundations stronger and trying to make a little bit more money, and just continuing to deliver on everything that we do.
Brilliant. Well, Stephen, it's been absolutely fascinating, inspiring, entertaining, talking to you, and I hope a lot of people, watch this particular episode, because there's a lot of things people can learn from what you've achieved, and I wish you really well for the future. But I think you've got a lot of things nailed, so I'm not sure you need a lot of luck in that respect. But
I'm pretty sure I'll be speaking to you very soon, or in the future, and I'll be asking you for advice, which will come back valuable.
Well, so you'd be more than welcome. But I as I say, there's so many learnings that you've had that you've shared today, which is going to be incredibly valuable for a lot of people. And it's really interesting, actually, because you said a little while ago about you start every month as if it's the first, and it comes across. I mean, you can see you're as passionate now as you must be as passionate now as you must have been 30 years ago, because I don't think you could get much more into the.
It really is, it really is. It's you've got to enjoy it, haven't you?
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much. And if anyone wants to contact you or Sprint Finishing, what's the best way to do so?
You can email us straight through, which comes through to everyone in the office at quotes@sprintfinishing.co.uk. And anyone wants any packaging, designing, or anything like that, send me the products, and we'll do all the design work for you for free, and try and help you be more successful in your business if your business requires packaging. We've certainly helped people grow their business dramatically through having the correct packaging and sales. And it's just a really quick example is a lady that used to sell fudge in a bag, and she had a very successful business buying fudge, selling it in a bag, and we designed a beautiful box with the help of Sheffield Hallam University. And the bag was sold for, I don't know, £2.50 a bag, and it was great. She made money all day long on the stall. And now she's in Harvey Nicks and all these places, just because that fudge is now in a box, and it sells at something like £12.99 a box.
Brilliant.
And all that was correct packaging presented properly. It's the same product, and it's no longer just something to eat, it's a gift. So that's the kind of thing that we do at Sprint Finishing. We have that. I genuinely want to do that and see businesses grow. So that's what we do, and that's how we can be contacted.
Fantastic. Well, look, and again, thank you so much. It's been really great
Very
session.
welcome.
We wish you best of the future. I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thanks, Stephen.